Sustainability. But before I dive into the meat and potatoes, let me tell you a tiny bit about who I am and why I find myself in front of you talking about sustainability. I have a passion for what I do. I am one of those weird animals that has been an interior designer my entire life, even before I studied. And my approach has been a little unique. I was just talking to a couple ladies who are joining together and becoming a collaborative package, which I think is great. My life has been about growing and changing and serving people. And the holistic approach really simply means that I look at the entire package. We think about the way spaces are and how people live in them and how they work in them, how they sleep in them and how they die in them, how they heal. These are the things that we need to be, as interior designers and human beings who live in these spaces, need to be thinking. And because I am not a spring chicken, I've been doing this for a while. And my holistic approach keeps honing and changing and growing. And I'm addicted to learning and being with the times, even though that's not exactly easy in these modern times. Technology has really changed the platform of the way the industry of interior design and architecture is completely. Some of us in the room might not want to believe that. Some of us are holding on to the old ways of doing things, but you're gonna go kicking and screaming. Technology is here and we really need to do it. And this is why I say that my holistic approach has been about serving my clients, but I'm standing up here today because it's about collaboration too, and creative collaboration. We need to work together and we need to share our information. And I am by no stretch of the imagination an expert. I've only been doing this for 25 years, but that doesn't make me perfect. But I want to share and have a conversation. So even though I'm up here and I'm the one that's standing and presenting, I really want to invite all of you during this presentation to say something, to raise your hand, to ask a question. If you don't want to do it in the middle of the presentation, there's a Q&A at the end. But I really want it to be a collaborative approach because the things I'm going to be sharing with you are going to be about sustainability, about design, and about the way that I think that we can go forward together. But I really want to continually improve it. So I'm here today because I made a decision a couple years ago that my life in New York wasn't sustainable. Guys, most of you live in New York City, yeah? Or near it, and work in this crazy city. And I decided that I needed to do something to make my life more sustainable. And I ended up giving up New York City and moving to Spain. And Spain is an interesting place because it is, I say, accidentally sustainable. It's because it had a dictator for 30 some odd years and they didn't go on the rampage of the rest of the world. And it's really nice to be in a place that slows down. And it gave me the opportunity to write my books and to continue thinking about the things that were important to me. And sustainability floated right to the top. The moment that I slowed down, I realized I needed to actually start helping other people design and think the way that I intuitively was doing. So there are 4 things that I want to share with you tonight. And I'm hoping that some of you already know this, and I'm hoping that it's done in a new, innovative way and it's not totally boring. But I'm also hoping that I open your eyes to think a little bit differently. The first thing you really need to do is become aware that sustainability is something you need to be thinking about, and you need to be educated. The second thing, we need to actually understand what the small steps are that we can actually do right now in this present moment that are going to make a difference. The third, water. Water is going to be a commodity, people. We really need to be thinking about it. Being an award-winning bathroom designer, and I love bathrooms, all these great things, we really need to be thinking about how we can conserve on water. Especially at the end of this conversation, we're going to be talking specifically about bathrooms. That's the number 1 area in the house that uses water. And so then we're going to talk about eco-design. I'm going to give you some tips and ideas that are super simple that all of you can use right now to make your design more sustainable. And again, I'm hoping some of you guys might be able to add some input to this. So the first thing is being aware. Knowledge is power. Francis Bacon said it. It's so true. The more you know, the better off you're going to be. We, as designers would say sometimes, knowledge is a little bit of pain with their clients and the internet, and they get all this information in there. But if we embrace it and we decide that this is a good thing, this is something that's going to add value to their overall process, collaboration, it's going to be great. I always said that when I was in school, one of my great talents was that I could take a really big, complicated topic and I could dumb it down. I think it was because I actually struggled to figure it out myself, so I needed to really simplify it. And with my clients, I often give an appendix that describes all those complicated words. And I'm going to tell you, it's probably because 25 years ago, I didn't know what FF&E meant. Right? And then it was totally embarrassing, so I don't want my clients to feel the same way. So about sustainability, it's a really big topic right now. The young people in the room are much more aware of this than the older crowd, me. Right? It is something that we need to become educated about. We need to be aware that this is not something that's going to go away, and it's not a hoax, even if some of our political candidates want to believe that it is not true. So sustainability. What is sustainability? The development that needs the present without compromising the future. We worry about our children's children's children is what it comes down to. You cannot do something in a vacuum. You have got to pay attention to the long-term effects of every decision that you make. You guys are designers. You specify things. Design is supposed to be making the world a better place. You need to become aware that sustainability isn't an option. And it's funny because I don't think of sustainability as just an environmental thing. I use sustainability when I think about, can I sustain my workout practice? Getting up at 5:30 in the morning, I could do that for like 3 days, maybe not. That's not sustainable. Buying that super inexpensive faucet, where's my client, is that sustainable? You got to make the decisions and think about it with everything. It's not just environmental, right? We get all scared with what that means in sustainability. Sustainability just is this decision that I'm making right now, is this choice, is this action, is this product something that is going to be able to last a long time and have no negative impact? It's kind of simple when you think about it, but we often don't slow down enough to think about it. I'm doing an info document trying to actually figure something out for a sustainability talk that I want to do in Spain, because they are starting to do takeaway. Oh my God. Spain didn't do takeaway. They were slow. You would go and you would actually have a cup of coffee. So nice. I love it. Now they're doing party bar. Oh no. Every bar now has plastic cups and straws for this. So I'm doing a No Mas Plastico campaign in my neighborhood and trying to convince them if they're going to do it, they need paper straws and all that kind of stuff. I'm saying you've got to figure out ways to make a difference in this exact moment and understanding the long-term negative effects of what's going on. So we just need to realize that. And trust me, I'm not perfect. I like my iced coffee. I used to have like 3 iced coffees with plastic cups and plastic lids and straws. So we're aware of it, but we need to figure out how we can become conscious of it. Now I think about it. Doesn't mean my life is no plastic, but it means I'm aware of it and I really make decisions based on that. So the first thing is being aware of what it is. And the earth is the only thing that we have in common, quote unquote. We all live in the same place. Even if I live in Spain and you guys are in New York and some people are from different countries and different cities and all of that. But in this room, we have something else that brings us together. Majority of people in this room are designers. You're the leaders on the way that space is going to be done. And that is a really powerful position to be in. You should own that. And you should really think about that because we are designers. Here's interesting. I'm a licensed interior designer. I studied interior architecture and psychology. and yada, 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 aromatherapy and reflexology, and I'm a lead AP, blah, blah, blah. But gosh, something stuck with me when I was in school. The definition of interior design is about function first. Not just about a pretty space, people. We get really caught up in pretty spaces. And that's great. Bucky Fuller said, if it's designed right, it's gonna be beautiful. Right? Gotta stick with that. It has to be function first, people. And this is the definition from the National Certification Interior Design Qualifications. Benjamin, is that right?
Yes.
Yes. NCIDQ.
Close.
That's right, close enough. So this is a little snippet from that. So I'm a licensed interior designer. In this, it talks about encouraging the principles environmental sustainability. It's right in there. We sometimes forget that. I've been doing this for a long time. I talk to a lot of designers, and I talk to a lot of people, and I've mentored a lot of people who are coming into this, and they're thinking that this is all about pretty spaces. It's not about pretty spaces. It is absolutely not about pretty spaces. It can be. Leroy Brooks has some really pretty stuff, and they have redesigned their faucets and their toilets fairly recently to be water savings, which is amazing and fabulous and shows that they are recently very aware of what's going on. And I believe that Leroy Brooks toilets and faucets are equal or better than the California standards. That's pretty impressive and something you need to think about when you're specifying pretty fixtures. Gotta be function first. And it's interesting because interior designers, we don't think about the life cycle of products. And we really need to be thinking about the life cycle of products. You're gonna get scared in a minute. So, horrible, awful information. This is what we do to the world. We are the cause of this. Holy mackerel. This information, when it first came to me, changed the way I was a designer. I got this information 25 years ago, probably when I was studying, and the numbers had probably only increased. I'm not the type of person that remembers exactly these little tidbits of information. I'm sure those percentages weren't quite that high 25 years ago, but they were high enough to shock me. And now, I'm going to tell you, they horrify me. That's big. 50% of climate change can be attributed to the construction industry. And you say, oh, that doesn't have anything to do with me. It's the implementation of what we do, people. 50%. Oh, it does have something to do with you. It has something very much to do with us. And I am here to try to promote you guys to get so excited as I am to think, okay, that's great. Then I've got the power to do something. Because if we're causing this kind of damage, then we can uncause this damage by making smarter choices. 50% of landfill. Oh my God. There is, in the UK, this number is easy for me to remember, 100 million tons of rubbish goes into landfill from construction every year. I can't get my head around that. Can you? Can you get your head around how much? The earth is not that big. 72% of it's covered with water. Where are we sticking our rubbish? Right? So these numbers, scary. I know, I'm sorry, trying to scare you. Yes?
Can I just jump in there? It's like, I see this every day, and we're like, well, the sustainability, we're always putting green products on. And I watch somebody who moves into an apartment, lives there for 2 years, and they completely got renovated because it's not to their taste. I've watched the bags go out. I've watched my projects that I did a few years ago.
I'm with you.
Gone.
How painful is that?
Dumpster.
And we need to help. I absolutely hear you. And it's shocking and it's painful. And here's the interesting thing about that. I'm really excited that people love design. Like it's, woohoo, it's so cool. When I went into this 25 years ago, it wasn't quite so cool and hip. But the problem is we were not the people to educate the public to do it correctly. God forbid. I don't know who in here is anyways in HGTV and all of those. Reality television is not reality. And that is allowing the public to be completely misled with information in regards to design and to think that that's even remotely appropriate. So we have to be the ambassadors. We have got to tell them that that's not a good thing to do. And if you are going to do that, thank God there are some wonderful places in New York that I know of, like big reuse and green demolitions, that are struggling their butts off, I'm going to say as well, but they're starting. So if you have a kitchen that has only been in for like 6 months or 2 years, you can suggest or implore them to make sure that that gets pulled out and it's donated. Yes.
And actually, not only that, but they give a tax refund. So I've done this more than once with clients where I've said, the kitchen is great, let me get these guys in.
Bravo.
First of all, you won't have to pay your contractor to demo it.
Yes.
And you will get a tax refund of up to $5,000.
And did you use Green Demo?
Green Demo.
Yay! I'm so
Yeah.
happy that you promoted them, Benjamin.
Yeah.
That's so great. So, but it is a problem, and it is our job to help educate our clients. We're not going to win. God, do you ever win with your clients educating them? But we need to, as a collective, start. Some clients are perfect, Faye. Right?
You can tell them that they're going to save money. That's a good
Absolutely,
start.
absolutely,
Yeah.
right? We're problem solvers. That's one of the things that we do. But it is something that I find really shocking. I mean, you walk down the street, you could practically, furnish your entire house with the things that people throw away. Conspicuous consumption, lordy, I live in Spain. You have no idea until you walk out of the perspective of what we live, especially in this city, compared to the rest of the world. It's shocking. We are very wasteful, which is why my voice is becoming louder, literally and figuratively, and why I'm starting to do more of these talks. Yes, Liz.
So I just want to say that, speaking from England, you go to the dump sites and you can kind of take the stuff, and there's a really big sign that says, there is no place called away.
I love that.
There is no, but I'm not throwing it away. There is no place called away. Away doesn't exist.
There's
There's
that.
another place that this is going to be. So
No, that's so true. No, I love it, and I think that that's really great. So a couple years ago, just a couple years ago for me, that might be like 10 years ago, but I'm on the subway in New York City, and I'm standing on the platform, and the doors open, and we move from the platform into the subway car. And there was a man with a baby pram, and he pushes in, and everybody moves out of the way, as you do for babies and stuff, right? So goes in, the doors shut, and everybody scoots to sit down. And he drops on the ground next to him a plastic bag. And this British man, young, very nicely dressed in a suit, runs over and picks up the bag and hands it to the gentleman. And the gentleman says, I don't want that, I dropped it on purpose.
Oh, God.
It's my baby's dirty diaper. This is a true story, people. The poor British man did not know what to do. He didn't know what to do. He did eventually put it on the floor and push it underneath the seat. Everybody's looking and everybody's thinking, and of course it's New York, so no one's talking, right? That story stayed with me, and it made me realize just that, Liz. We have made it too easy for all of our stuff to just disappear. We are not even aware of how much rubbish we make anymore. I just finished my 3rd book, Feng Shui Tips, Bathroom Renovations. Yay, thank you. Woo-hoo. It was by far the funniest and probably the most complicated book to write because it's talking about things that we normally don't want to talk about in polite company. But if we are going to be redesigning the bathrooms that currently waste a lot of water to get rid of the unsightly things that we don't want to talk about that we all do, because you know what? I love you all, people. You all poo. I know it. I know it's horrible. It took me years to be able to say that in public. We have to, thank you. We have to stop running away from the normal stuff. We make garbage. We make poo. We've got to find a way to deal with it, because if we don't, we're going to be buried in it. It's not just a pretty space. My lovely designers who do really fabulous, beautiful things, we love it, but it has to be secondary to it. So being aware of it is really important. Not hiding behind pretty spaces. Not hiding behind the fact that we've got really great services that disappear everything, because it doesn't disappear. Liz, what was that again?
There's no place called away.
No place called away. That's good. I like that. That is really very powerful. It's going into my next PowerPoint. Step number 2. Here's another thing, small steps. Small baby steps in the right direction is really, really, really all that matters. You know, the journey of 1,000 miles starts with one single step. We get frozen with fear. We all do. I love Al Gore, and Al Gore is such a great guy. And I use him to talk about this because for 2 things. There was a time in my life that I actually, though people had worked really hard to gain voting rights for women, sometimes I was a little too busy to vote. Yeah, and I was younger, stupid, I know. And that election, I didn't think my vote would matter. I did vote that year, but for drama, I'm saying I didn't vote. It proved to me that one vote mattered. Okay? Al Gore doesn't win the presidency. We go down the road, but he does become a sustainability advocate. It's his mission. We love him for that. However, that book, have you read his first book? An Inconvenient Truth. Oh my God. Doom and gloom. My one slide, that's an entire book. Oh my God, I have goosebumps. It's so depressing and terrifying. Frankly, what do you do with the information that says New York City, our beloved little city, our little island, is going to be underwater in 30 years? What do you do with that information? I know what I do. I go and I get a freaking big glass of wine, and then I think about how pretty I can make a space. Because God knows it's all going to go underwater, might as well just have fun. Fear, we get frozen. You can't do anything with that information. And I applaud him. But that book had a counteractive. People are like, you can't do anything about it. I'm here to tell you that's not true. It's not true. One small step in the right direction absolutely does make a difference. And doing nothing is doing something. Now that you're aware, there's not a single person in this room that can go away. You can't undo this information. It's my hope anyway. That you guys are all going to become as passionate about making small changes towards this and not be frozen with, oh my God, there's nothing that we can do to make the world a better place. Because one small thing can make a big difference. The last time I did a lecture was when I was here in May, and I did sustainable kitchen designs. And the great thing is if you guys make one change tonight, one person makes one change in their life, I've won. All this is worth it. I'm super excited to think about that. The host, Fisher Paykel, they changed their policy. They no longer give water in plastic bottles in the United States. All their showrooms have water in a jug, God forbid. Really, people? But all those plastic bottles are no longer being used. One small change. One lecture, one evening, someone had an aha moment, And all those, literally probably thousands of water bottles every year are no longer being used. That's a really great thing to think about. I want to implore all of us to think about what you can do to do, yes.
Always bothered me. We used to have milk in plain cartons that you pulled open.
Yes,
Then they changed them all.
great design.
And then with a plastic opening, screw top plastic. So I got the plastic here and the rest. Why did they change them?
I know, plastic is cheaper and easier.
Many of them.
Yeah, I was, interestingly enough, I was in a grocery store in Spain, a big grocery store, which I rarely go to. That's a whole other conversation. I like going to the little mom and pops while you can. And the entire aisle, which was probably 100 feet long, was yogurt. It was one product available in glass. One. All the rest was plastic. I'm gonna say, that's what I bought, the one in glass. And I was kind of sick to my stomach. So we have a lot of work out in front of us to start changing things. When I say that I'm not kidding about no más plástico in San Sebastián, I'm not kidding you. I am finding a way to import paper straws. I can't let them start using plastic straws. Not in my turf, not if I have something to do with it. So we have to start being aware and making small steps. Has anyone read The Tipping Point? It's a great book. 17 years on, it's still a great book. He really hit it. It's such a fantastic book. It's storytelling. So this one is so appropriate because he talks about the small steps eventually gather up together, get momentum, right place, right time, right chemistry, and then, whoo, you're gonna have wildfire. And I'm saying this because if you haven't read the book, you should read it. But I'm hoping that I can start that kind of movement. I'm hoping I can inspire all of you guys to actually start to care and to start to pay attention and to start being an advocate for this. Because our manufacturers and suppliers are only going to change when you guys start demanding that they change. Our clients are only going to change if we say you really have to do this. You have to go for a water savings or an energy savings or a recycled product, or you can't throw that kitchen away, or we have to donate it. We are the ones that need to be the advocate for doing that. And this Tipping Point is such a great book because it gives you hope. It doesn't even make a lot of sense, but little by little you can chip away at things. And together I really do believe that there can be an alchemy where it can start to change. And this is different than Al Gore's story. I think he did say this at the end, but it was lost under a whole bunch of weight of statistics and scary pictures. I'm going to say, no, I am a Pollyanna, for those of you who don't know me very well. I'm always the silver lining. My clients can attest to this, right? I'm always the one that says, it's going to be okay. We're going to find a way. We're going to make it work. And so I'm a big believer. I'm standing up here not for the doom and gloom. I give you all that information because you need to be aware of it. But I'm here to say we together, collectively, can make a big, big difference. And that's what I'm hoping that we can do. We need to make it sexy, right? We let interior design become sexy. It is like the hottest little tamale, like freaking everybody does design. There's 1,000 television shows on it, and everybody's into it, and every, actress and actor have their own line of furniture and fabrics and wallpapers, and, it's become sexy. Home decor and interior design, even architecture, God. And it has to be sustainably sexy. It has to be, gotta figure out a way to make it sexy. And we need to slow down enough to recognize that. I lived in New York, and I ran my business, literally ran my business at 100 miles an hour for 15 years. Thought I was really conscious. And I probably was on some level. But when you're running really fast, you don't see a lot of things. Best part of me living in Spain is I slowed down. But the weird thing is I've still published 3 books, I still do my blog, I still have 5 clients, blah, blah, blah. Somehow, energetically, I've slowed down enough to see what's important. Making sustainability sexy is my goal. Next year, 2018, watch out. S. Lee Wright, Sustainable Sexy. So what's the one thing that you can do right now? Another fabulous book, if you haven't read it, by Gary Keller, The One Thing. It's a Mythbuster book, great read, about what's the one thing that you can do right now, in this exact moment, that by doing it, everything else becomes easier or unnecessary. It's a question I ask myself every day. So what's the one thing that you can do right now that's going to help me make sustainability sexy? I don't know. Maybe you don't have an answer right now. Think about it, though. When I'm out there having a glass of wine, I want to hear answers. Step 3. Here's another kind of scary one. Sorry, people, the truth. Water is going to be a commodity. We can't live without water. How much of our body is water? Something crazy. 70%, right? How long can you go without drinking water? 2 to 3 days. In normal circumstances, under really great circumstances, you might be able to live up to a whole week. We can live without food for 3 weeks. I could probably live a lot longer than that, but 2 or 3 days, and then you die. Holy mackerel, that's crazy, right? It is really, really important to have good drinkable water. And the great news is 71% of the earth is covered in water. Great news, bad news. 2.5% of that is fresh. Worse news. 0.3% of that is drinkable. Designers call drinkable water potable. Latin for drinkable. So crazy when we use all these fancy words. Drinkable, we need drinkable water, right? So that's a really small percentage of the water on the planet that we can actually drink, which is necessary for our survival. That's kind of crazy. And there's 844 million people on this planet that don't have access to drinkable water. Crazy. We live in a very privileged world, people. Easy to forget that. Not with me reminding you of all this doom and gloom, and there are 250 million contaminated water diseases in the world because the water that we do have that's fresh, we keep polluting. People, it's crazy. And we're letting this happen because we don't know what's happening, but ignorance is not in the court of law. What is that saying?
Bliss.
Ignorance is bliss.
No excuse.
Yes, thank you. That's more what I meant. Ignorance is bliss too, but I think it's more that ignorance is not an excuse. You can't get away with saying, I didn't know that. We can't say I didn't know that anymore. You guys can't say that you don't know this anymore because I'm not letting you. I'm like, the more I learn about this, the more I have to share it with people going, that tiny little percentage of fresh water is getting contaminated all the time because of our practices. Our manufacturing practices are spoiling that. And here, writing and being an author has been so much fun for me because it gives me an opportunity to feed my curiosity. We're designers, we're problem solvers, right? So you're all in that ilk of people, problem solvers, and you're finding things out. So doing my bathroom book, I discovered something that I didn't know, which some of you in this room might know. The world is a closed system in regards to water. Do you know what that means? It took me a long time to get my head around it, a little slow. There is a finite amount of water in the world, and it just goes in a cycle around and around and around. That's it. There's no more coming from somewhere else. Like Liz said, there's no other way. There's no other universe where there is more water coming. The water is in a closed system. So if we pollute and destroy the little bit that we have that's in that system, that's drinkable, you kind of get where I'm going?
What about
That's
rain?
rain is in a closed system. The water is in a closed system. So intriguing to me. Did not know this. And I went and asked a whole bunch of questions to a whole bunch of people much smarter than me because I'm like, that doesn't sound right to me. That can't be true. And apparently it is. And the water goes in different ways. It goes up and then it rains down and then it comes through, da da da. But it is a closed system. We live in a universe of a closed system. See, I knew someone in the audience would know and be able to probably more technically. I get the information, I assimilate it, I come out with a little nugget, that's what you get from me. If you need really technical, that's Google, or someone in the audience who can remember the facts. But
It's not just water, it's in a closed system.
I know, but just because I'm talking about water. But yes, you're absolutely right. We are in a closed system, people. Which means that we're living in the same world, it's our world, and we need to be taking care of her a lot better than we are.
It's different than what people say you live in a bubble these days.
Literally, we do live in a bubble. Well, we actually live in a bubble, in a blind bubble. And that's when ignorance is not bliss, because we're gonna wake up one day and we're gonna be in a lot more trouble than we are right now. So this is a great picture. One of my favorite blogs, I don't know if you listen to it, is Tree Hugger. Because I actually am literally a tree hugger. I love trees. And this was one of the quote unquote in an article about pretty bathrooms. But this bathroom really freaked me out. It's in Japan. It's next to a train station. They designed an entire park around this single toilet with this experience that you get a little code and you go through this door and you walk down this little winding path to have this experience of being on the loo in this glass room looking at this gorgeous thing, and you're private because it's surrounded by big, tall fences. It almost makes me nauseous. Do you notice that this is like a traditional toilet, which goes into like a septic tank? It cost something crazy. I can't even remember the number, but millions of dollars to make this. And they didn't once think that a composting toilet would make a whole bunch more sense if they were going to be kind of crazy and ego enough to have one single toilet in that kind of a place next to a transportation hub, people. I mean, honestly, function first, this is function last. You know, it could have been interesting to have a composting toilet that then creates fertilizer for the lovely gardens that you're staring at, right? Would at least have, there would have been some kind of consciousness. But instead I use this as a complete thing saying, holy mackerel, we need to wake up the world. Because this was allowed. And this isn't that long ago. And this is totally ego design. And I am here to say we got to let go of our egos, people, and we need to be eco. Right? We so need to do that. Yeah, 2.3 billion people without a working toilet. Crazy. And there are complete organizations that are all about bringing toilets to people, which is also something, the more I did my bathroom book, the more I was realizing that, you know, I'm spoiled. We're all spoiled. We just didn't realize it until all of a sudden you listen to Wright. We're going to make sustainable sexy. I don't know how we're going to do it yet, but we are going to make a difference.
That's your next book.
We got to be the change.
That's your next book.
Yeah, I'll come up with it while I'm talking. We want to be the change. We have the opportunity of being the change in the world that we want to see. We want to stop this. That's how much water each one of us uses every single day. Yeah, tell me that's not shocking. Shocking and unsustainable. We can't keep doing this. We
You
can't.
don't recycle that in any way?
This is the amount of water that the average American uses every single day. Washing your hands, brushing your teeth, peeing, showering, doing a load of laundry. That's it. Per person per day. And we're increasing in population, right? We've got a problem. So conscious design is necessary, right? I've given you a lot of doom and gloom, a whole bunch of fun facts to digest. I hope one of those facts sticks in your brain so it kind of inspires you to want to do something different, which is eco-design. The purpose of design is to make a better world, a better society. I went into it for that reason. I'm imagining every single person in this room went into it for more or less the same reason. Design is powerful. Every single thing in this room is designed by somebody. There had to be thought and energy in creating it. We've got to start bringing that standard up. We've got to raise the bar, especially seeing what the ignorance is bliss, what that's led us to. We've gotten very caught in it being a pretty space and not being about the function first. So here's my helpful hints. Simple. Changing some of your habits. You know? Gary Keller in The One Thing talks about how you can change your habits. I was brought up that if you persevered for a month, you could change your habits. It actually takes a whole bunch longer than that. But I'm hoping that there's some commitment and fortitude in this audience to do that. Because you got to start changing your habits. We know that. You want to change your habits. Sometimes you have to really force yourself to go to the gym or do something. But changing your habits means taking a shorter shower. Not putting in that huge soaking bathtub. Showers, shorter showers use less water than big bathtubs. Not keeping the faucet running when you brush your teeth. I've done that since I was a kid. But there's a lot of people I know who leave the faucet running when they're brushing their teeth. Don't use your toilet as a garbage can. I'm going to say, since I've been this, I watch how many people I know do that. They want to get rid of something, whether it's an ashtray or something. They throw it in the toilet and they flush the toilet. This is about changing our habits, and it's about educating our clients in regards to it.
How about pills? Oh,
Yes, well,
medication.
Well, you know, we should talk to our pharmaceuticals about better ways of actually doing that, because actually putting medication down into our septic system is actually destroying the water system, so it's a horrendously horrible thing environmentally to do. Does anybody know what she's talking about? Yeah. So changing your habits, right? What else can you think about doing to change your habits? You guys are going to be the creative ones. This is your job. You know, putting a bucket in the shower to capture water so you can water your plants. Think about all the water that's in your shower. Just different small things that you can start to do. Dual flush toilets. Crazy little things like that, just changing habits, not specifying jacuzzi bathtubs. Right? There's a lot of things that we can actually do. Does anybody have any ideas for habits that they can change? Hi, Richard.
Water seeping aerators in your faucet, your shower head.
Of course. You think that I do not have a complete slide on that one? Yes, absolutely. There are products, as we talked, this beautiful showroom that we're in right here made a conscious decision to rework every single one of the innards of their products in order to be water savings. That's a big commitment. That's reworking all of their tools to make this in order not to have too much water being wasted. Right? It is an amazing commitment, but something that should no longer be optional. Water saving fixtures. This should be a no-brainer, people. No-brainer. There are lots of products out there. I'm going to say thousands and thousands of products. The internet, oh my God, it's overwhelming, Faye, right? Like we're like, oh my God, how many faucets are there to choose from? Literally thousands and thousands of faucets, and how do you make a decision? The decision needs to be, oh my God, always go for the water-saving one. Always. Water Sense, there are lots of easy ways to figure this out. Richard, who has his own bathroom and hardware, Metropolitan Bath Home and Bath, and yeah, so MHBB or something. Perfect. Always call them up and say, what can I get that has an aerator in it that looks like this? Because of course the clients are thinking about look, right? But we need to be thinking about how to do that. I'm also thinking that we need to continually push our manufacturers to only have water-saving fixtures. We're the ones that are going to be making this difference and this call. If we constantly ask for it, it is what comes. But if we don't, they can get away with being lazy. Come on, it's the same as everything in our life, right? Don't go to the gym when you don't need to, nobody's looking. Right? Simple, eco-friendly finishes. One of the things about being sustainable, and here is the tricky part, designers, it's about choice. Not everything, it's not black and white. Like the water-saving fixtures, easy. But some of the other things you have to think about. One of them is durability and eco-friendly. I don't even think when I was in the corporate architectural world 25 years ago and I was laying carpets down in those environments and it stunk, we had to, no one could be in this space for the entire weekend and we had to bring in these humongous fans to get the smell out so people could come in on Monday and not be sick. And never once did it cross my little pea brain at the time that that has to be super, super bad for you, right? Now, thank God, low or no VOC paints, you know, all the eco finishes, you can go for water-based things, you can go for formaldehyde, but non-formaldehyde. There are so many products that are out there that are the same price, more or less. But another factor to put in this is durability. We live in a little bit of a throwaway society. Perfect example about how people are willing to throw away an entire kitchen or bathroom because it was designed by the former owners. But we have to actually think about something being pretty that also lasts. All of my clients get a care and maintenance package at the end of the project because I want them to actually know how to take care of the materials and the products that they have so they last a really long time. I know that sounds crazy, but it's an important thing to think about with the choices of what you're doing. Another, the fact is that appliance manufacturers, forgive me if anyone in here is an appliance manufacturer, but they now last 7 years. They're designed to last 7 years, people. That means in your lifetime, you are going to have 5 refrigerators, 5 stoves, 5 washing machines, 5 dishwashers, and they're all going to end up in landfill. We need to say that that's not acceptable because we know Maytag still, I have people who still have Maytags in their house that are 40 years old. It's possible. Technology is possible to make things durable and last, right? The money market has changed something. Yes?
Yeah, I'm of a certain age that I grew up and I bought, I remember my first stereo was this big walnut Curtis mattress thing. I knew it was going to last forever, and it probably is out there somewhere. Somebody didn't throw it away. Still,
absolutely.
Still there and still working. And we all assumed that everything we bought was forever.
Yes.
And then slowly, as I got older, those things were like, well, look, we just get a new one of these. It's gotten faster and faster and faster.
It is amazing, right?
So here's a little trick that I do when I talk to clients about, well, pay a little more money for the quality because it's going to last longer. I take them to old good things. You know that little store?
I love.
Right?
Yes.
And I go, pick that up. See that phone? And it weighs, a lot
yes.
of everything. But I said, but that was made out of these materials. It was made by this way. And these faucets and these things, they're still good.
Yes.
They're still
It is
good.
a really great way of educating your client.
All.
Yeah.
And I said, that's lasting. And you can have that, but we just need to find it and hope we can get it. Don't go for the little plastic thing that's just going to last.
Absolutely. And that's another thing that we can say from an eco-design standpoint. You can go secondhand. You can go, not only do you donate the kitchen cabinets, but in appropriate times you can go and you can buy an entire kitchen that's secondhand. And you can buy a lot of things. I do an awful lot of repurposing materials. Every single project will have something in it, whether it's going to be hardware or a mirror or even pieces of furniture. But definitely you can do it with cabinets, you can do it with faucets, vanities. There's a lot of things that you can think about doing. So it's another really great eco option. This picture is a picture of a material that I love and is really close to my heart, which is also, it's Cadillac. And it is a Moroccan material. And it's been used in all of the bathrooms and the hammams and the spas in Morocco for gazillions of years, the whole time.
What is it called?
It's called Cadillac. And it is a lime base. It's kind of similar, if you think about it, to the way it's applied, like Venetian plaster, which is also a very sustainable material. But the great thing about this one, used in bathrooms, is because it's porous, the water goes into it, but it dries out. So this was used in a bathroom that I designed in the entire shower and on the floor. Gorgeous and totally sustainable, absolutely environmentally conscious. And that's another thing. Start looking backwards. There's an awful lot of old things that can be used now. Milk paint. Venetian plaster I've used in bathrooms too. Fabulous. Super durable. Super, super, super eco-friendly. So we can start thinking about those types of things when we're designing and use them. Size matters. I know, it's so horrible to say, but it's true. I'm a small space designer. New York, London, Glasgow, Scotland. I needed to figure out how to make small bathrooms work. But I am going to tell you, small does not necessarily mean bad. And I say that because in America, we seem to think that. We seem to think that everything needs to be huge, and that makes it great. But it doesn't necessarily mean that. The bigger something is, the more energy it takes to make it, the more energy for the materials, the more energy to take care of it, build it, all that kind of stuff. So think about the sizes of the spaces in which you're designing. They do not, if they're designed well, small is often much better. I have significant stories with people I know who have been in very large spaces that were designed way worse than the smaller ones. So we have to think about that when you're actually laying out. If you're doing new designs, you can be creative with how you do this.
Much harder to do small than large.
It is, I know, which is why I love
A lot
it.
of very, very large bathrooms. And the small ones, they are really tough.
I know, this
get
puts your
everything in.
creative collaboration, your design skills have to be really, really good when you're
Right.
working with limited budgets and small spaces, and oh my God, now you have to be sustainable. Jeez, I know. You have to put all of your thinking caps on. So, four
Creativity
things,
comes from limitations,
always, right?
always.
So these are the four things. You become aware, you take small steps, you really think about water, and then you're an eco-designer. These really, what I've talked about is kind of common sense, and a lot of information's out there. So frankly, I feel like you guys should be doing this. Everything is connected. You can't separate what you do from the climate change and the way that the world is going. We have a lot of opportunity to make positive change, and I'm holding you guys to do that. I keep this slide up. It's a friend of mine who, Raphael Love, who passed away about a year ago. But he quoted me when we were having a conversation, and he was living in the Dominican Republic, and he was giving up his life to actually, in the States, to go live there to try to make a difference in the world there. And he wanted me to help from a design perspective with sustainability. And he quoted me as talking about this. 2 questions that I ask every decision that I make: is this sustainable for myself, for the world, for everyone? And is this decision, this action, this business to be sustained? I ask these questions when I just think about things. And I invite you guys to start thinking the same way. Start thinking, when you're making these decisions, is this a sustainable decision? Is it a good decision? And when you do that, I believe that you're going to be really thankful. Your children's children's children are gonna really thank you. And I know that some of you might not think that far. I don't even have kids, but I care about your kids' kids. So, thank you very much. I have, I think that we have some wine and some food, and I'm really happy to answer any questions that you guys have right now, but I'm having a feeling we're at about an hour, and I think that's everybody's mark for, oh my God, I'm really thirsty. So I'm gonna be around, and if you want to look at my books, they're up in the front. Feng Shui Tips, Bathroom Renovations is my most recent one. So thank you again for coming, and help me make sustainability sexy.
Thank you.